That's very grimy, Will. You tell me when we're ready, y'all.
Okay.
Good afternoon and welcome to the June 20th special Zoning Committee work session. My name is Douglas A. Welton and I'm the chairman of the Zoning Committee. This meeting is being streamed online via YouTube in accordance with all applicable meeting statutes. Requirements for notice, access, and minutes are being met by electronic means. Glad to have you here today for this special meeting where we will be considering just a single item today, the UDO text amendment petition number 2024-067. Before we get started, a couple of items of business. For those of you who are in front of a microphone, please keep that microphone muted when you are not. Okay, now we're good. If you're going to make a motion or a second, please state your name when you're making that motion or second. The public hearing for this petition that we are hearing right now has been held at a previous date in front of Charlotte City Council and the Zoning Committee. This meeting is not a continuation of those hearings, so there will be no public input unless the committee has a specific question, in which case the committee will suspend the rules for the session and ask the petitioner, which is the city of Charlotte, I guess, directly. We'll begin with introductions and we'll do those introductions for the committee first, and we'll begin all the way to my right with the most beautiful voice on the commission, Ms. Wilden.
Rebecca Wilden, planning.
Will Russell, planning.
Shauna Neely, planning.
Clayton Seeley, planning.
Andrew Blumenthal, planning.
Thank you. We're we're happy to have Commissioner Blumenthal joining us for this particular meeting. We'll begin now with staff, and we will go all the way to my right with Ms. Jones.
Jones, planning staff.
Laura Harmon, planning staff.
Alan Goodwin, planning staff. Dave Benton, planning staff.
Corey Gainer, planning staff.
Monica Holmes, deputy planning director. Kelsey Craig, planning director.
And Holland, did we have anybody?
I don't see anything.
Okay. We may have Commissioner Lansdale is not able to join us today. He may be listening online. Also, Commissioner Winokur had a family health emergency and he is not able to join us today. And that is part of the reason why we are joined by Commissioner Blumenthal. All right, everybody, we have one item on the agenda and we will get to it. Who's going to drive for staff? All right, Mr. Patton, if you would, take us through rezoning petition 2024-067.
All right, thank you. So we went through this similar presentation on Monday night at the public hearing. As we know, we've talked a lot about residential development, most recently with changes to our conservation development option. As part of those conversations about conservation, we talked about presenting an alternative that could help to facilitate some of the same types of outcomes. We know we've got different market trends and different development needs for new modern construction. Make any significant impacts to those. So that's again why we are presenting this as a development option that can be used in those areas that would pertain to larger scale development or larger than just infill development. So applicability for this development option, again, is N1A, B, C, and D. Development must be over 2 acres and would not be allowed on properties in the most recently published airport noise exposure map or the critical and protected watershed areas, both within city and county area. And again, no more 25% of lots may have triplexes in the N1A and B districts. That would apply to all N1A and N1B developments of 2 acres or more, unless they developed under some of the voluntary mixed income residential option. Again, that 25% is just A and B, C and D. That 25% does not carry forward for development in those districts. For the development standards, go to
Okay, yeah. And they changed the phrasing of this recently published.
Oh, can we go to the next slide?
So that gets them out of having to go back
Uh,
and change it.
Thanks, sorry, I couldn't get it to it. Okay, there we go. So as we get into the development standards, how does this, shake out when somebody goes in to design a plan? Similar to what we've seen with other development options, this would reduce things like setback standards, reduce minimum lot area and lot width standards. So again, you can take the incentives that are built into this and get some of those smaller lot sizes that we know are a little bit more conducive to meeting market demands. Eliminates maximum building coverage standards. So again, those smaller lots, you can fit some of the footprints on there without having to worry about some of those lot coverage standards that you might find in just the base district. It does require a Class B buffer around the perimeter when abutting the neighborhood on place type. That's a 25-foot width. We have heard about some concerns from adjacent properties and how they interface with smaller lot patterns and a little bit more intense development areas. So that is something that we wanted to take into consideration and put that in place. It does require all lots to front either a public street or common open space, and also would limit the use of alleys as the primary access for units. You can still have alleys in these projects, but as we, changed through conservation or saw in conservation, those were becoming too heavily used, which does create some challenges for future infrastructure needs and burdens for future homeowners. So that does limit it. Again, you can have them in this option. It just can't be the primary access for these units. It does require a minimum of 10% common open space. It must also meet the 15% base green area requirement. Common open space does have to be designed to have a minimum width of at least 50 feet in all dimensions. Common open space, at least one of those shall be accessible from all residential lots within 1,000 feet. So trying to keep it somewhat centralized and not on the fringes of the project. And also common open space must be improved with things like landscaping, hardscape, reusable outdoor amenities, things we typically see in projects like that, but just making sure that that was clarified when we go through what the expectations are for those open space areas. So those are the general standards and items that we're considering for this. Again, we do recommend approval of the petition. We do feel it's consistent with the goals and policies and vision of the comprehensive plan. It does support particularly goal number 2 for neighborhood diversity and inclusion, and then goal 3 for housing access for all. So with that, we'll turn it over to y'all for discussion and questions, and we will try and work through any of those that you might have for us.
Thank you very much, Dave. Last time I took the chair's privilege to go first. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to do the regular adventure. Does anyone have any questions, comments that they have about this petition as it were? Seeing nothing?
Russell, I got a couple of questions. I just want for clarification. So if we go back to the front, the very first slide, we said that this does not apply to airport overlay and it does not apply to watershed. Do we know how many? I think the number was what, 6,000 acres that this was going to apply to? So when we take out airport and critical watershed, how many acres does that leave us with that this would be applicable to?
Yeah, well, it's 26% of 11,300 acres is what our GIS team has deemed as developable. It's in 1A, B, C, D, about 11,300, plus or minus 20 and 30. And then 45, it's 26% of that is in those overlays. So whatever that 74% of 11,300 is. Yeah, whatever that.
8,300?
Yeah.
Okay. And then my other question.
I will just caveat that is that the exposure map. Anyways, that was with the overlay versus the map. It's probably actually a little bit more because the new exposure map, I'm looking at Alan and Mark, the petition is slightly smaller than the previous overlay, so it's 83 plus whatever the difference is in that change.
Yeah, it'll be changing officially on January 1st of 2025.
Oh, okay.
And we'll be shrinking.
And the airport has told us that virtually all of the property in that neighborhood, that noise exposure map is owned or controlled by the airport.
And what will be on there on.
Okay.
That's good to know. And then one other question, I just want to make sure from language perspective, when we say common open spaces, does that common refer to the public or common as to the folks who actually live and own and set development?
It could be under the ownership of an HOA or of the Park and Rec if they want it, which is probably not the most likely scenario. Or another conservation-oriented entity. But it typically would be under an HOA control and however they want to regulate its access.
So we're intending common open space to really be beneficial to those.
For
who
the
live in
residents.
Residents. Okay, that's
It
what I was,
doesn't, it's not required to be public necessarily.
that's what I was looking for. Thank you, guys.
Any questions, comments? I will have mine then, if you guys don't have any others. I did not see, we had discussed at one point in time about properties on arterials, and I didn't see that as an item mentioned up there, but I just wanted to make sure that we had maintained the language that last time I heard was it did allow you to aggregate parcels on arterials, and that is still there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Two other comments then from me. When we had had to interact with the Conservation Development Update, this panel had come to a conclusion that we needed to defer because we believed at that point in time that we needed to see all of these things come to us as a unified and integrated package, a singular strategy. I believe that that is still the case. However, that is not what we've been presented with. We've been presented with this in pieces, and we all have understood this. I'm thankful to the committee members for being participants in the special Planning Commission session that we had. Was that earlier this month or the end of last month? And I do believe that that was useful in terms of helping the commissioners understand where staff wanted to go with this as a strategy and where the places that things still need to be defined. I encourage staff to hurry up and get there, and I encourage the commissioners to hurry up and help staff get there. So if you have insane ideas about how you think that we should affect the supply, I'm encouraging everybody on this side of the table to put those ideas out there and, email staff with things that even if you think they're crazy, let's try it out because we have options in front of us. And I'm a big believer in the notion that the best way to invent the future is, or the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And it's up to us to do the inventing. That being said, I will also say that last week when I was coming down here, for some reason, I got a call from some representatives in the development industry. And basically, to paraphrase their comments, that this measure was not the perfect solution, but it does bridge the gap and waits for additional text amendments where they can get some higher densities and development that will help meet the affordability targets that we're all trying to get to, because housing affordability is one of those things that we can directly affect with supply. And this is a step in the direction. It may not move the needle to the satisfaction of everybody, but it does move the needle. So those are my comments. And with that, do I hear any other comments from anybody?
I just have one question.
Commissioner Steele, go
Is
for
it
it.
not possible to move the needle a little higher on that 25% triplex? It just seems awfully low. I mean, that alone gives me pause here at that 25%, 33%, somewhere like that. It seems drastically low and brings densities down, and I think goes against a lot of our goals here.
I mean, I think
we can continue to evaluate that, but I think where it is today, and the schedule that it's on, I don't think that the staff is wanting to consider something different. But I think it's part of the conversation of housing supply, phase 3. I mean, I think really ultimately what we're all most interested in is townhomes and trying to figure that part out.
Is the 25% like basically what you would consider like a corner, like that's
Yeah.
where corners would live?
I mean, basically gets us to that same similar yield without dictating that triplexes are on corners, because knowing how
And that's where the
larger scale development occurs is it's typically in phases and so the 25% lots gives people the flexibility that if you want to do a phase of triplexes, then you can do a phase without having to mix builders between duplexes and triplexes, like on a block phase per se, where they're on corners.
And
So
then that would give you better ease of ingress and egress, I would assume, on the corner, and that's why, well.
corners, give you that ability for, more flexibility because you have 2 street frontages versus 1 street frontage.
Particularly with the driveway standards.
Yep, gotta love them.
Yeah.
All right, folks, do I hear any other comments? And again, I just, for the zoning committee and the planning commission in general, staff has basically given us a blank canvas to assault them with new ideas. I believe in only good ideas. I don't believe in anybody's, political dictates. Let's come up with some great ideas and shoot hard and fast. If no other ideas are present or comments, issues, I will say, can I get a motion for the disposition of rezoning petition 2024-067?
Motion, Seeley. Having reviewed the petition and considered the consistency statement prepared by staff to approve this petition, I move that we recommend approval of petition number 2024-067 and the adoption, as it appears before us, and the adoption of the consistency statement as it also appears before us.
Neil.
Well, it is apropos that it would be the Sealy-Neely combo. In a rare afternoon delight of Sealy and Neely, we will go with that and see where we get to.
Oh my God, I know. On Clayton's wife's.
All those in favor of the said motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, that motion passes 5-1. So we will have a comment from the nay.
All right. Well, I think my biggest concern is
Or is it full?
No, I'm voting.
No, it's,
It's 5-0.
Well, I don't know if we can.
if we can put him in here,
it'll be 4-1.
I thought we could.
I'm reading through it now, but so if we can, I'll talk with Tari and we can, right now, just treat it as 4-1, but if there is some language that allows some.
We have in the past, and that's why I called, because we were dangerously close to quorum.
Yeah, there is something in the rules of procedure that do allow the chair to, for each committee to pull somebody from another, so
Okay,
it's just not super clear, but yeah, we've done.
Okay.
We're
We
have
just
at
wanna
it.
make sure we're
Yeah.
following
We've done it the other way
actual
around.
rules.
yeah, I understand.
Oh, yeah, no.
Intention was to make sure that we didn't get into a place where there was like a 3-2 or something goofy like that.
Yeah,
which you
yeah.
guys know. Ugh.
Yep.
And
No,
that potential was there.
If there's some past precedent on it, have at it.
Okay, all right.
We did it 2 months ago for the planning committee. No problem.
Yeah, go. For it.
All right, I will say that the motion has passed by some affirmative margin, either 5-1 or 4-1, subject to retroactive analysis by the staff. All right, and I will have one question. the language for this has to be set by tomorrow when it goes to, so there's no changes, right? All right, and I just wanted to let everybody know that really there wasn't any room for us to make any changes today just because of the schedule that we're on. All right, do I hear a motion for us? Well, we still got to get our opposing.
minority.
Yeah.
Yeah, minority opinion.
Still concerned with the 25% limit on triplexes on corners. I think that's still gonna be problematic for housing supply and diversity. Also concerned at the limited acreage that this is targeted toward, which I think was somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,362, if I did my math right, out of a city of 13,590,720
There's not 13 million.
acres. I'm sorry. Oh, oops. That's square feet. I am so sorry.
I was like, that's pretty good.
I'm a contractor man. Contractor man. But yeah, so just my concerns about changing city law to affect such a small number of acreage in the city this size. So those are my 2 points.
All right, you guys got that? Everybody happy with that? Now do I hear a motion for us to adjourn?
Wilden, motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All right, then we're out of here.
Before 6.
We're out before